Today I fucked up by letting my kid lay in my lap, NSFW. This happened last night. My wife and I were settling down for the evening and sat down on the couch to watch TV while our 13-month-old played on the floor. After a short time he apparently decided he wanted to cuddle up on the couch with us. He climbed up on the couch and crept up close to me with a smile and lays his head down flat on my thigh. It was close to his bedtime, so I didn't give it a second thought. We were both really into the show we were watching when suddenly I felt a sharp pain on the top of my penis. I mean, like a turtle had just reached out and latched on. I screamed in pain at first and looked down to realize my son had shifted his head slightly against the shorts I was wearing, and just chomped down. He may still be a baby, but he has some sharp-as teeth. I grabbed him to get him off and my wife didn't understand what was happening. She thought I was just randomly in pain and trying to throw our son. It looked like that, well, because he wouldn't freaking let go. I finally tugged him away and to the floor and he screamed crying as my wife went to console him, and I got up and cupped a hand to my crotch and paced back and forth with a feeling I'd never felt before. I walked outside to get away from the crying for a moment and stinging pain wasn't stopping. After a few moments I returned inside and looked inside my pants to survey the damage. My penis was bleeding from the tip. He left a freaking indentation with his teeth. Still hurts today every time anything brushes against it. I'll be way more cautious going forward about where he's laying his head. My wife later laughed and called him amazing birth control. Too long didn't read, let my kid lay on my lap and found out how sharp his teeth are. Now I've got a cut and sore penis. Hello Drive, I would like you to take a look at my penis. A child bit down on it last night. Yes officer, this post right here. I've been bitten hundreds of times by one of my students. Here's a pro tip: if he bites again, don't pull, he'll bite harder. Plug his nose so he has to open his mouth. If you pinch it a little, not enough to hurt but so that he's uncomfortable, he'll let go a lot faster. Sorry to hear about your penis. That is a pro tip. Wait until he's a teen giving you attitude. Listen here, dick biter. Too long didn't read, let my kid lay on my lap and found out how sharp his teeth are. Now I've got a cut and sore penis. My initial thought was of you getting an accidental boner. This was much worse. Today I fucked up by treating my horse like a dog. Technically, my fuck up was last night. Let me start by saying, I rent a boat today. I fucked up a home in the country on 200 acres of land. I have a horse, dog, and 3 cats. My horse lives in a field in my backyard. 6 acres of boat today. I fucked up grass, hills, a stream, and a huge 20 by 10 FD stall, all properly fenced. Last week, my horse bruised his foot and was limping. I decided to put up a temporary fence in my yard and keep my lame horse in my backyard where the ground is soft and the grass is greener. He could barely walk, so there was really no concern over him escaping. He was beyond overjoyed. Yesterday, I had the farrier come and fix his shoes as he was no longer limping. Here's where the fuck up begins. I loved having my horse in the backyard. It was like having a giant dog hanging out with me. 6 a.m., my phone is ringing. It's my landlord. There are 12 state trooper at my house trying to wrangle my horse, who is leisurely strolling down the main road. He was fine, they had fun. My horse made friends with a super sweet lady trooper who was giggling the whole time she was walking him back home while he was nuzzling her face. Not nearly the worst of fuck ups, but I thought everyone might enjoy something that doesn't involve sex. Too long didn't read, treated my horse like a dog for a week while he was injured, only to have him escape when he felt better, causing a closed road and a bunch of state troopers a fun morning playing cowboy. Edit, thank you for teaching me how to photo on Reddit. Here are some pics of my ridiculous old man and the lovely property we live on. My old dude, Stan the man. Edit 1, oh my god. Thank you everyone for the gold and silver and all the lovely comments. I'm so glad I shared this. Today I fucked up has been becoming a shit show lately, and I just wanted to share some goodness with the community. Also, to those of you who think I need another horse, I promise you I don't. He's very happy with the peacock and chickens that live in his paddock. He doesn't have any issues with running or pacing. He wasn't out looking for a friend. A section of temporary fence fell down and he walked out my front yard. They were kind enough to not fine me. They loved hearing about how the old guy got retired to me and were super understanding about the reason behind his escape. They gave him lots of pats and made jokes about the low-speed chase. The lady who caught him was smiling ear to ear. It absolutely could have gone horribly wrong. He could have been hit by a car. Thankfully people on my road tend to watch for deer, cows, and chickens. Someone clearly called 911 to report a loose horse on the road. I just wished they had stuck around so I could thank them. Probably going to be getting him a name tag with our contact info, just in case. A few years back there was a bad wildfire and my aunt and uncle had to cut their horses loose quickly so they weren't trapped. They just spray painted their name and number on the horse and sent them on their way knowing they'd find their way down the mountain just fine. Don't feel too bad. I had nearly the same thing happen when we first brought my horse home. We were still patching the fence in our field so we made her a small temporary enclosure for the night. I was awoken in the early hours by my father telling me my horse was gone. Let me tell you, I have never felt so weak in my whole life. She had managed to jump over the gate which was almost taller than me. Luckily we lived in a very low traffic area. As soon as I went outside I screamed her name and was met with a very excited whinny and she came up the road right to me. She still had a fly mask on so she could barely see. I was so relieved and felt so terrible after. You are correct, this is a nice deviation from I grabbed a woman out of the path of an oncoming train and accidentally grabbed her boob, which means I molested her. Nice to hear your horse had a good time even if you probably were not. It was resolved so quickly that it really wasn't the worst way to start my day. Jumping into a trooper's front seat with no glasses or shoes was pretty exciting even if we only went down the driveway. I once installed satellite dishes for rural places. So I pulled up to a new job and was greeted only with a small horse, a kid horse. Anyway, it acted just like a dog. It was really curious, sniffing me like a dog, then it wanted to jump on me just like an excited dog. I noped back to the van and waited for the owner to arrive. He showed up and first thing out of his mouth was that the horse thinks it's a dog. Apparently it hangs out with the farmer's dogs all day. A kid horse? You mean a foal? Lol. Cute story though. Dude, those troopers had a best day at work thanks to you and your puppy horse. No wonder there were 12 of them responding to the incident, smiley face, they all wanted to play with the horse. Not much goes on in my town anyway lol, they were the happiest group of people I've seen in a while. Today I fucked up by having my son clean his room. To start off, this is my wife's story and it happened at the beginning of the year. Some backstory: we have two kids, a 10-year-old and a 2-year-old. Why 8 years apart? Well, me and the missus tried having a kid for 7 years before she became pregnant. So the 10-year-old helps out a lot and is a great kid. We are truly lucky to have this child. Well, at the beginning of the year the 2-year-old had started to potty train himself, telling us he had to go potty and then going potty. So we get him some pull-ups and start that phase. We also have a 3-bedroom home and the boys share a room. The 10-year-old's idea, not mine. Cue the day of said FU. The 2-year-old had been playing in their room just out of earshot of the wife. She would check on him every few minutes just to make sure he was alright. Well, he comes to her and says, "We think, Mommy Slim yucky." Oh no, my wife thinks and calls for the oldest. "Hey, oldest, the 2-year-old got into your slime, can you clean it up for me while I make lunch?" So the oldest goes into the room to clean it up and my wife picks up the 2-year-old to clean him up. It's at this time she sees the 2-year-old doesn't have his pull-up on, and after a few minutes my oldest calls out, "Mom, can slime go bad?" She walks into the room to see my 10-year-old trying to clean up a huge pile of runny poo that is all over the floor with his bare hands. So after a few screams and laughs from my wife, she tells him to go take a hot shower and she cleans the mess herself. Then lets him play on the Switch for the rest of the day. TLDR, 10-year-old tries to clean up runny poo with hands thinking it was slime. Edit. Holy shit, no pun intended, this blew up. You guys have me in tears laughing on my lunch break. Thanks so much. But to answer a question or statement I have gotten in DMs. No, my oldest doesn't babysit but does help out around the house, keeping his toys picked up and out of reach of the little one. Normally he does a great job. Is just one of said responsibilities. Edit number 2 got gold. Thanks, it means a lot. You guys have made my day. Also, my wife and kids did this DIY slime thing, and at one part you add food coloring to make it the color you want. My son made his brown. Cause he added multiple colors. So when the little one runs in saying slime yucky, it wasn't a weird thing and he has gotten into it before. My oldest wasn't playing in it. He was trying to clean it up. And the whole thing was over the span of a few minutes. So he wasn't in there for that long trying to clean it up. And I forget not everyone knows things. But if you Google slime it should clear up confusion. My 2-year-old girl came up to me with a solid fucking turd in her hand and with the most happy / cheerful expression you can possibly imagine and exclaimed, "Daddy, I pooped." I'm disgusted, yet amazed. You see, here is where your child outsmarted you. By making you think that he believed it was slim, he puts you in a position where you wouldn't want him to tidy his room again. Checkmate. May I have your attention, please? Will the real Slim Yucky please stand up? I repeat, will the real Slim Yucky please stand up? We're gonna have a problem here. My little sister had the croup. Pretty bad. So she was in the hospital sleeping in an oxygen tent. My mom and dad were trading shifts home / hospital. So my dad is on duty at the hospital. Falls asleep. Nurse comes in a bit later and screams. See? My sister woke up, had a big load in the diaper, and spread it all over the insides of the oxygen tent. She had shit in her hair. If my dad was still around, his "today I fucked up" would not be this story. It'd be sleeping through the flood. Honestly, it's posts like these that make you appreciate 3 AM Reddit.